Inauguration's over. It's a week or so later, and I'm walking around the Fort Myers commissary getting groceries, and my phone rings, and it's Beyonce's people. She was getting ready to do the Super Bowl halftime show, and they said, "We heard you at the inauguration. We'd like for you to do the intro for Beyonce. We've already got it recorded by somebody else, but we'd like for you to do it." But I didn't tell anybody.
Yeah,
so I didn't say a word.
Guide me, oh thou great Jehovah, pilgrim through this barren land. I am weak, but thou art mighty, hold me with thy powerful hand. Bread of heaven, feed me till I want no more. Feed me till I want no more. Welcome to Still Singing. I'm Casey Armstrong, and as many of you guys know, I've had the opportunity to sing in a number of different ensembles, from universities to community choirs, to professional ensembles, and professional quartets. Today I'm going to introduce you to my good friend Courtney Williams. Courtney and I met through a man named Glenn Draper, where Courtney was a Junaluska singer before I was. I took his place. He joined the Navy Sea Chanters. Anyway, I'm excited for you guys to meet Courtney today and hear what he's doing now here in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina with his lovely wife and kids. See you in a bit. When I tread the verge of Jordan, bid my anxious fears subside. Death of death and hell's destruction, land me safe on Canaan's side. Songs of praises, I will ever give to thee. I will ever give to thee. Hey man.
How's it going?
We did it.
We did it.
We did it. Thanks so much for letting me stop by your new place. I say new, relatively new place.
Fairly new.
Couple years, I guess. I don't know. Here in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, man.
It's great to have you.
So remind me when you retired from the Navy band.
So I retired in May of 2022.
Okay. So May 22. And that was 27?
26. 26 years.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. It was
How's
a good
it
time.
feel?
Man, you miss the people, you miss some of the stuff, but retired is nice.
It is, man. So tell me about the new job here in South Carolina and what's going on, man.
Well, now that I'm retired from the Navy, I'm working two jobs. I'm a real estate agent here in the Mount Pleasant, Charleston area with the firm Real Estate Company.
Okay.
And then I've also recently become the executive director of an organization called Low Country Veterans Home.
Oh, nice.
And we have a house on James Island here in Charleston, and we provide transitional housing to homeless veterans.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a really, really special job getting to help these guys that have had their struggles and help them get back on their feet and back into society again.
Wow, man. Yeah, I didn't realize that. So is that fairly...
It is. I got involved with the organization as a board member, and then just this year, the executive director stepped down and we needed somebody to fill the role. So I jumped in and I've been drinking from a fire hose trying to learn the job.
I bet, man.
Yeah.
That's a great service to those in need. You know, I mean, the VA is great. There's so many great outlets for veterans, but it's funny how some people can slip through the cracks.
Yeah. We actually have a partnership with the VA. So we work really tightly with them to help these veterans out. So we provide the services that the VA can't. We get them off the street and into the shared living environment. Hopefully it's a 90-day program where we get them kind of stabilized, find them a job if they need it, help them make sure they're getting their benefits, and then get them back out into their own.
It's a step to the self-sufficient kind of scenario.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. Well, good on you for that. So you and Stacy are here, and the boys, man, I heard them earlier.
They hadn't made it downstairs yet.
So tell me about these kids, man.
So we got two boys, Raylan, who's 10, and Stone, who's 7. Stone is our little gentle giant. He and Raylan are about the same size, even though they're 3 years apart. But, you know, we live here in Carolina Park in Mount Pleasant, and it is just a dream for kids. I mean, they ride their bikes to school most days. They get the freedom that we used to have as kids, and you kind of feel like you lost.
Yeah. Yeah, so our neighborhood's cool for bikes, but then you get off our neighborhood road, it's like there's no shoulders, there's no sidewalks, S-curves everywhere.
They have to cross a fairly busy street to get from the neighborhood to the school.
Yeah.
But they have crossing guards sitting there every morning and every afternoon.
Perfect.
So we actually found this place back in 2017. Stacy and I came down here on an anniversary trip. By Sunday, we were looking at open houses in this neighborhood. And we were like, hey, when I retire, this is where we're coming.
This is it. Yeah, man. Just driving in here, it's a bob and weave through the neighborhood, and it's beautiful. We've got the lakes and the sidewalks, of course. It's great, man.
Yeah, it's a
Great.
really special
Congratulations on this, man. This is great. So, I know you grew up in Tennessee. I've met your folks through the years, but tell me how you found music, or how did music find you, or, tell me about that journey.
So, I grew up singing in the church, but I was raised Church of Christ. So singing was ensemble, congregational, a cappella.
Right.
But there was a guy that went to church with me that sang bass in a barbershop quartet. And even as a kid, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to sing bass.
Yes.
And so I would always sit near him and try to sing like him. And I think he was a doctor or a dentist or something. That was his trade, but he enjoyed singing. So did that. And then when I got into middle school, I started playing trumpet in the band.
Yes.
And enjoyed that. And then I went to a tiny little school. It was in Greenbrier, Tennessee. And there was a new band director that came in, and he was responsible for the middle school and the high school and the chorus.
Wow. Yes. Yeah.
It was a lot. And there hadn't really been much of a chorus. So he was trying to build that program up in the high school, and he didn't have enough guys. So in 7th grade, I started singing with the high school choir. And really, that was when I fell in love with singing.
Had your voice changed yet in 7th grade?
I don't know if you and I have ever talked about this. My voice was always kind of low, even as a kid.
Even as a kid, okay.
But it just dropped. And when you meet Raylan, you'll hear it because he's got the same thing. Like at 10 years old, he's got some gravel.
Uh-oh.
So I didn't have the real low down stuff at that point.
But
I
you
could
were
sing
already
bass.
singing baritone bass.
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously your music teachers found you. You grew up singing Church of Christ. Everybody's just kind of involved.
Yeah.
And you had your mentor through church. Okay. Yeah, that's cool, because I don't think I've ever asked that, because I think you're like me, like my parents, they can sing melody. I mean, they can sing along, but they weren't in the choir.
And my dad will tell you he can't sing anything. So
yeah, my dad's like, I can only play the radio. That whole thing. Yeah. Well, my dad sings low lead. Like, he'll sing everything down the octave.
Hey, that's a good spot to be in.
I love it. All right, man. So I see you're wearing your UT orange
it's game
today.
Day.
It's
that's
game day. Because you spent some time at UT.
I did.
It sounds like prison. Like, you spent some time.
I did my time there.
Yeah. So tell me, how did they find you, or?
So I guess the summer between my sophomore and junior year in high school, I was lucky enough to be selected to go to Tennessee's Governor's School.
Okay.
At MTSU. And while I was there, one of the voice teachers was Lynn Helding, who was a professor at Vanderbilt.
Okay.
So then once I got out of Governor's School, I'm back in Greenbrier. Well, Greenbrier's 45 minutes from downtown Nashville.
Yes, right.
So I got a scholarship to go to Vanderbilt for pre-college voice lessons and theory classes.
Oh, wow.
2 days a week, my junior and senior year. So it was great. A fantastic opportunity.
Absolutely.
But as I was getting ready to graduate, Miss Helding decided she was moving to a different school. I don't remember where she was going, but wherever it was, I wasn't interested in following her. So I auditioned at MTSU, Austin P, and UT.
Okay.
And I wound up getting a scholarship at UT and went there, but it was an opera-based scholarship.
Yeah.
And I figured out pretty quickly that opera was not where my heart was.
Right. I agree, man. I know you hear it as much, if not more than I do, but people are like, man, you should sing opera. And I tell them, I'm like, I sing just enough opera to know that I don't want to sing opera for a living.
Man, when I hear somebody really doing it well, it's so impressive. And I am so blown away by that level of talent and commitment that it takes to do that well. But it just doesn't speak to me personally. Like, I enjoy listening to it, but it's not something I want to pursue.
Right. I tell some people that, I don't do it because I'm too lazy, but it requires a lot that goes into it before anybody sees the final product.
Yeah.
And so maybe early on it might have been a time thing for me, but I'm with you. It wasn't calling me. It just wasn't calling me.
But while I was there, I was studying with George Bitzis.
Right.
Who was one of the original Junaluska singers.
That's right.
So
the quartet.
Right. So that's where I found out about Glenn and Junaluska.
Yes. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Talking about basic training for...
That's everything. That's opened up the whole road to everything else that came. So I got to jump back and tell you how I got involved with Glenn, because I got a call from Glenn too.
Right, right.
And he wanted me to sing for him, and I was in Nashville. Like, I wasn't going to go to Chattanooga or whatever. So I wound up meeting Jim Brogan in the parking lot of some, I don't even remember where it was, and just sang for him in his Camry. And he signed off on me and told Glenn I was good enough to come be a Jim Lesko singer.
So y'all met on 40 probably somewhere?
I don't remember where it was now,
Probably.
but I think it was a green Camry. And he and I just sat in his car and talked, because I had no idea what late Jim Lesko was. Mm-hmm. And I remember him saying, "Have you seen Dirty Dancing? It's kind of like that."
You're like, sold.
I'm like, let's go.
Oh, gosh. All right. Yeah, this is all coming together. Was Dee Dee in the car?
No, she wasn't in the car.
Okay, so Dee Dee always claims, like, well, we got Courtney.
I mean, that's true. That was, yeah. I think I talked to Dee Dee. I think she set up the meet with Gemini.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, Kara's working at Brogan Financial right now.
Oh, that's great.
So she started there this summer.
That's awesome.
Working over there. Can you imagine? She's having a blast.
That's great.
Yes. So I don't think I met you, but the first time I saw the Jim Lesko Singers was the December concert of '95.
Okay.
So just before you joined the Navy.
Right.
And you were up there with John Dominic, Jim Brogan, Michael Smith, Jay Craig.
Yeah.
I mean, that was
a good group.
Do you remember Angela Robertson?
Yeah.
She was Glenn's assistant.
Right.
Angela was in my studio at Western.
Oh, okay.
So she was the one that, I think you had, by that concert, you already knew you were going to the Navy?
So it's a convoluted journey.
Yeah.
So like I mentioned, I realized at UT that opera wasn't for me. And so I left UT and I went back home and started working just a retail job trying to figure out what was next. And what I kind of thought was next for me was a military career of some sort.
Right.
You know, and what I had done was I had depped into the Marine Corps and was getting ready to go to the Marine Corps. My plan at that point was to do 4 years, get my GI Bill, go to school, figure out what I was going to be when I grew up type thing. And then somewhere between that December concert and January of '96, I was singing at a church in Nashville, and one of the Sea Chanters had sung there when she was a graduate student at Vandy.
Okay.
So the Sea Chanters were looking for a second bass. She called back to the choir director and said, "Do you know anybody that might fit?" And so the choir director was like, "Oddly, yes, I do." So I got cold called. I was working a retail job in Rivergate Mall, and I got a call at the mall from one of the Sea Chanters. And at that point, I knew about the Singing Sergeants. I'd never heard of any of the other military choruses. So I jumped on a plane, flew to DC, and auditioned for the job. And then I had to get out of my commitment to the Marine Corps.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So was that tricky?
It was a little hairy.
Yeah.
You know, at the time, I didn't know much about military structure to begin with, but I had to go sit down with a Marine major who was head of recruiting for the Nashville area, and he looked me in the eye and said, "I'm not in the business of recruiting for the Navy. You made a commitment. I expect you to live up to it." And I talked to some other folks and got some good counsel, and we found a way to get me out of that commitment.
Yeah.
And I was able to go into the Navy.
All right. Man, okay. I now remember you telling me about you were on track to go into the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
But I had forgotten about that little detail. Man, yeah, that would be kind of tricky. I mean, I know how MEPS and recruiters and all that was so intimidating. I went through it twice, you know.
Right.
Okay, at that Christmas concert, when I first saw you guys, you thought you were going to the Marine Corps.
Right.
So the reason she invited me was because she knew you were leaving.
Right.
And was like, "Hey, come check this group out. Glenn's going to need a new bass this summer, blah, 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 whatever." But here's the truth. I came and watched that concert. I said hi to Angela. She did introduce me to Glenn. And I remember telling Glenn, "This was incredible. I have no business being a part of it."
Oh, that's crazy.
I was like, I can't do this. I mean, I showed up by myself. I mean, it was only 20 minutes from Western or whatever.
Right.
I showed up to the concert, sat between two older ladies.
I mean, it was the lake.
It was the lake. And I was just like, holy crap. You know, you weren't using any music. Everything was memorized.
Yeah.
And so I loved it, but I was intimidated. I was like, there's no way I could do this because I was fairly new. I did the trumpet playing vocal switch at 19.
Right, in college, right.
I was still just so green. I was like, man, I can't do this. So I told Glenn, I was like, "Hey, listen, I really appreciate the invite. Thanks for the ticket. I just don't see that." I mean, and I walked away like, that's not an option.
Right.
And so fast forward, you had already been swept up by the Navy by that time. And then I think in March or April, he called me and was like, "Hey, come sing for me." And I was like, So the rest is history. But okay, that answers a lot of questions. I'm glad to learn some of this, and anybody that's watching will appreciate that too. So you came down to visit in the summer of '96, probably a long weekend or something.
I had just gotten out of boot camp. So I had gotten out of boot camp and went straight to DC.
Okay, kind of signed in.
Kind of got settled in, and then I waited until the band took block leave and just took leave with them because I wouldn't want to miss anything at that point.
Yeah, no, I understand.
So then I flew home and got my car and the few things that I had, and then was driving back to.
You're like,
I'm like, I got to go see my buddies at the lake.
Okay, so that was when any of you guys that have ever sat through a KC concert. So when I say my buddy came back from the Navy and told us about the job, this is the scenario. I was rooming with Mark Tilley. You slept on our couch at the Ghetto. Which was the affectionate name for the lodging there for the singers. And basically, I kind of picked your brain about what it was that you were doing. And
well, it's funny now because I realized at that point, I was only 3 weeks into the actual job. I had no idea what it was.
Well, but you were still further along than anybody else.
True.
So I think any of us, all the singers that were kind of a little bit curious. I mean, I know I was because growing up, you see the bands. And you said you heard about the Singing Sergeants. I hadn't even heard about the Singing Sergeants. So it was just the bands. You saw the bands at the inaugural parades. If you watched that as a kid, you saw them on the PBS specials and this and that. If you ever visited Arlington, you maybe caught a glimpse of a band. You see buglers on the TV. There weren't that many state funerals that I had watched. So I was not familiar with the choruses at all. So having you sit down, we chatted about that weekend was a big deal because that was in '96. And so in '99, fast forward after you've been there 3 years, I called you up and was like, hey man, what's going on? Are there any openings?
Anybody got an opening?
And at that time, you were like, Singing Sergeants need somebody. So I came up and auditioned for that job, and the rest is history there too. So, by the way, I went to the 80th anniversary of the Singing Sergeants.
I saw that being advertised as upcoming. That's great that you got to go.
So what happened with the shutdown, the singers showed up, out of uniform, volunteered. I think all but, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 were able to be there. And so they sounded, gosh, all the groups are
I'm so glad I'm not auditioning to try to win one of those jobs now. Man.
They're it's so... it's just so good. Yeah. It's so good and clean. And the new group sounds great. I've heard the Sea Chanters recently. They're killing it. The Army Chorus is now mixed.
Right.
And it looks like they're close to being balanced. I mean, they hired quick.
That's great.
They were able to go over strength. And so, Soldiers Chorus is doing great stuff. Do you know that the field band has 2 rappers?
I did see that.
I haven't heard them.
I've heard one thing. It was very brief. I think I saw it on social media somewhere.
I guess I will say this. The field band was the first to do these new social media things.
Yeah.
They were cutting edge, man.
Yeah.
All the rest of us were like, oh, well, crap.
I don't know if we can do that.
But, it's just been so fun to watch these bands adapt to the new, whatever it is. And I'm with you, man. I'm like, thank goodness I auditioned when I did.
Yeah, because I'm glad I'm retired.
So that's how, this guy's the one that just came back and slept on my couch and told me about the military courses. But anyway, so during your career with the Navy, you were in the Sea Chanters first, of course. Yeah. And then at some point, when did you switch over to the concert band, solo announcer?
It was right around the same time that you made the switch to the Army. Because I remember I had just found out that I had won the spot to become the announcer for the concert band and soloist for the concert band. And you called me up and said, hey man, Army Chorus has got an opening for a lowdown. Are you going to go for it? I think I might do it. And I was like, no, I just got this new opportunity. I'm going to stick with where I am. And
I was like, okay, good.
Okay, good.
So 04, okay, so that was about 8 years in?
Yeah, it was early 04. So I think I did my last official gig with the Sea Chanters, the holiday concert of 03. Okay. And then in January of 04, started with the concert band.
That was a lot. So you're soloing with the band, you're announcing every concert, and you're also producing the tours, right? Or part of the team? Or
I was part of the team. I advanced some of the tours at that time. I was also, at that time, running production for the band. That was one of my collateral duties, was setting up those big shows.
Throughout the year?
So the 4th of July, Navy birthday, holiday shows.
All right.
I had a lot of support with that. But that was one of the things that they were like, well, here's your opportunity, and here's some of the things that go along with it.
Oh, by the way, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so one of the things that we all were in love with was when you got the opportunity to be the voice of the inaugurals.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're doing all these concerts. Did somebody hear you, or how did the inaugural team find you?
Okay, I was doing the concerts for sure, but one of the other things that I started doing in that announcing job was I was announcing a lot of the higher level ceremonies for the Navy side of things. So anytime our Chief of Naval Operations, I think Army Chief of Staff, is that what you guys?
Yeah.
Anytime their counterpart from another country would come visit, we would do ceremonies for them, and I would always announce those. And through that, there was a 1-star that was the commandant of Naval District Washington, who then went on the inaugural committee. And I did 4 inaugurations. Every one of them was different as far as how I got involved. But this first one, they said, we need an announcer, and he said, I have a guy. And I just got the call and said, you're going to do this.
Tell me, was that a Bush or was that Obama?
That was Obama's first.
Obama's first, okay. All right, so that was your first of 4.
Yes.
Wow.
So then for Obama's second, they had each service send somebody to audition. So we all went to the Capitol and did an audition. And then there was another one where it was just more of a, hey, you did this last time, come back.
Okay, yeah.
And then of course the last one I did was Biden, and that was just a weird one because it was in the middle of COVID and everything was strange. And
so we're all back home watching and listening, because it depends on what station you're watching. So many people talked over, but we're all listening and just thinking, man, we're glad we're not having to announce all those different names and stuff. Did you have to do your own research, or were you coached on any of?
So there was always somebody from the Senate, one of the staffers, that was very connected, and as you might expect, we had a lot of rehearsals going up to that.
Right.
Thing. But I remember the first one. The craziness of the first one was I had this huge script, and I was standing right by the door that all the dignitaries would walk through. But the command post, the people running the actual inaugural, were in a conference room just off of that. So they couldn't see who was coming down the hallway. So I've got a talkback mic with them, and then I've got my record mic. Either the Marine Band's playing or they're playing piped in music, but either way it's being amplified. And the people weren't coming in the right order. And so I would be on the talkback mic going, hey, we're jumping to this house I'm gonna announce in 5, 4, 3, jump on my other mic, ladies and gentlemen. Like, it was nutty.
Dude.
But then, once I got, at that point, President-elect Obama announced to the dais, I was kind of done. So I got to go into the command post, which was overlooking the dais where they were swearing him in. And I could see all the way down the mall. I was watching camera flashes going off by the Washington Monument. I'm like, I don't know what they're taking a picture of, but it is so cool to see.
Felt like Forrest Gump, didn't
you?
That's right. Like, I've done just enough live announcing to know that I can do it. Sort of. And no low stress. So did you just fall apart? Like at some point when you were back home and you take your belt off and just like,
so
did it ever hit like that? Or?
One of those funny things. At that time, I was single. I was living on a boat on the waterfront in D.C.
I remember that.
And the way I got to the Capitol, so I met everybody at Fort McNair at like 2 a.m, and we rode over to the Capitol at I think our report time was 3 or 3:30 or something like that. And I didn't make my first announcement until I think 10 o'clock.
Yes.
So I'm just sitting in the Capitol, and we're in full dress uniform. In January, it was cold. And so I sat around for hours and hours and hours waiting to go. And then it was go time, and it was like 2 hours of just intense.
Yeah.
And then also at that point, I was announcing the inaugural luncheon, which happens in the Rotunda as well. In the Capitol anyway. So I did that, and then we're done. But the command post guys have to get to the parade. So they left and went to the parade. I didn't have a ride. So I walked from the Capitol in uniform back
to the boat.
Or actually, I think back to McNair because my car was there.
Oh, yeah.
And then I had to drive. They had that waterfront locked down. And so I had to talk my way back through. I was like, listen, I was just at the, I'm safe.
You're like, ladies and gentlemen. It's like, so that's the behind the scenes still. Think about all the White House gigs, it was incredible. You're like, what am I doing here? How is this happening?
Yeah.
But, we're sneaking through the back door, holding in the,
the coat closet downstairs.
And it's the typical, sneaking through the kitchen and out. We're the help, man.
Yeah.
And we're there when they need us. And so it's funny to hear these stories, but we were all proud of you, man. Like announcing those inaugurals, man. That's so crazy.
So I got another, how the military life kind of affects what you're doing on the outside. So it was at Obama's second that he had Beyoncé as one of his. So, and so I got the opportunity to introduce her and Kelly Clarkson, who was the nicest celebrity I ever met. I mean, I'm standing there getting ready to enter, and she walks up and she shakes my hand. She says, "Hi, I'm Kelly." Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm aware. Which is funny because at the time, my dad was her postman. And I didn't think to even bring it up because she was living in Nashville at that point, or Hendersonville, and so dad was her postman. But inauguration's over. It's a week or so later, and I'm walking around the Fort Myers commissary getting groceries, and my phone rings, and it's Beyonce's people. She was getting ready to do the Super Bowl halftime show, and they said, we heard you at the inauguration. We'd like for you to do the intro for Beyonce. We've already got it recorded by somebody else, but we'd like for you to do it. That'd be amazing.
Yes.
And that wasn't a Navy gig. I got paid for that one. I mean, not that I didn't get paid for the Navy stuff. So I was like, great, let's do that. So it wasn't a live announce. I went to a studio and pre-recorded it, had conferenced in with them in California or whatever. But I didn't tell anybody because they had already said that they had somebody else doing it. I'm like, what if I tell everybody and then they pull me?
Right.
Yeah. So I didn't say a word. And it just happened that the next day was a Navy band weigh-in. And so Stacy and I are sitting on the couch. I didn't have any Super Bowl food. I didn't have anything except for water because I had to weigh in the next morning and waiting to hear if it was me on the announce. And it was super cool to see. And then my phone blew up, but it was a lot of fun.
Everybody's like, was that you? You're like, yes. No, that was a good call, man, because it could have been.
You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, when they've got options. Man, yeah, that's awesome. I did the joint service Super Bowl 48 with Renee Fleming.
Right.
I did not do Super Bowl 50 in California. There was another joint one. There was just conflict with me, and I wasn't able to volunteer for that. But there's some just crazy moments. So we may have already answered this question.
Sure.
But what comes to mind when you think highlights? What would be like, let's just say top 3, if you can even do that?
Man. So the things that I really remember. So I was still in the Sea Chanters when the movie Pearl Harbor premiered.
Yes.
They did that premiere on the deck of the USS Stennis at the pier at Pearl. So the Sea Chanters got to fly to Hawaii, sing for that premiere on the deck of that ship. We didn't get to watch the movie. They took us down below decks for the actual movie part. But I mean, that was a super cool experience. And that was my first and only time in Hawaii, and to be able to see the memorial there was incredible. Was amazing. Obviously, the inaugurations were such a unique experience. And then from day one until my very last concert, it always touched me at the end to do the Armed Forces medley and watch those folks stand up with such pride for what their family had done and the sacrifices they had made. Like I'm getting chills right now just thinking about it.
No, I've mentioned this before. It's so easy for us to go on cruise control, as a soloist or in ensembles, and on the last patriotic set of the concerts that we would always do. But you're right, it's like each night you see them jump to their feet, even if they're not able. It's like, man, all of a sudden it's like this energy comes into these guys and these families, and they're proud of that service. You're right, man. I agree with you. It's the shot in the arm that we all need by the end of those concerts. And something good about being on a stage when you can't see the audience. I like going back to the shows. I think it's a big thing. But man, our gigs, I liked being in the gymatoriums where you could see.
Man, a gym job could be just what you needed. When a tour was starting to drag on a little bit, and you get a good gym job with a crowd that's rowdy, and it would hype you right back up.
To be able to see, the feedback. Yeah. To be able to receive the feedback from him, and that's always big. I love to feed off of that versus not being able to see. So one of the things that I want to do with, especially the military contacts I've made through the years, the 3 reasons that the bands and choruses exist, right? It's number 1 is to honor the fallen.
Especially the DC band. That's your primary mission, is doing those funerals at Arlington.
Right. Then number 2 is esprit de corps, which is supporting those that are still serving, whether it's through a rock band on a deployment or whether it's through getting them amped up at a ceremony on post. And that second one is kind of rarer for us in DC.
For sure.
Yes, there's always active military in our audiences typically, but it's rare that that's our specific target audience. But number 3 is important, is to bridge the gap between the general public and that frontline soldier, airman, sailor. And I tell people, it's not for us to have the answers. It's just the music does the work, right?
Right.
The music soothes, it heals,
and just
inspires.
Connecting with the community is, especially for the Navy. Like if you're in the middle of the country, you're not going to have a Navy base. For the most part, the Navy bases are where the water is.
Right.
And so to be able to take that uniform into the heartland of the country and represent the Navy was always such a special thing.
Yeah, that's true. I've never thought about that. So as believers, I like to tell people choral music came from the church or the tavern. I don't know. You
Right.
take it.
I mean,
but I love the fact that 60% of the rep that we probably sang, it might have been Latin, it might have been high church, but it was like scripture-based text.
yeah.
And so I love the fact that that would sneak in, because the Navy wasn't your church, the generals weren't, or admirals weren't your pastors, but it was nice to see how that snuck in. It was received well because it was Americana, it was spiritual or whatever.
One of the closers that I did was I sang Battle Hymn all the time.
Yes. In the beauty of the lilies, Christ was born across the sea
Yeah.
with the glory in his bosom that transfigures you and me. I think it was about the 10-year mark. And I was just, it wasn't the job that wore me out. It was just DC.
I get that.
The rat race feeling that was buzzing around me the whole time. But I remember my wife's friend, his name's Tim Farey, and he was a major Army chaplain at the time. And we crossed paths at a gig. And we were talking afterwards, and I was like, traffic, I was doing...
and you chose to live a ways out.
I did. That's another podcast. No, but so I was doing this. He was like, how's it going? I love the job, but I was feeling a tug to be in a ministry.
Yeah.
I was always a weekend warrior.
Absolutely, you were.
But I was feeling that tug, like, I'm going to do it. And he reminded me, he says, you guys, through song, get to sing more Jesus than I do as a chaplain.
Yeah.
He says, I get an hour a week at the pulpit to preach my gospel. The rest of the week, I'm a counselor.
Right.
Because the Army is everything. The Navy is everything as far as faiths and beliefs. Kudos to those chaplains that have to yield to those restrictions. But it's still a ministry to all those that come to them. Don't get me wrong. It's still a great thing. He just reminded me that
what you're doing makes a difference.
A ministry.
Yeah.
Whether it's called that or not, it is. It's healing, it's mending, it's soothing, it's calming, it's inspiring, it's all that through music to these people that need to hear it.
Yeah. Well, and then we got the chance to form Brethren and do that.
Oh, yes. Then there's
we
Brethren.
hadn't even gotten into that.
I know. We're close on time, but two of the things that I loved through the years, Courtney, was we got to do one Glenn Draper recording.
Yep.
It was like an 05, I think. I remember we did one recording session, ended up to like 2 CDs.
Right.
Like,
that's how Glenn works.
Yeah, he does like 80 songs. And
We've got 20 minutes. Let's get 4 songs done. Let's go.
But that was an experience because we had both done plenty of sessions separately. We've both done sessions with Bill Dixon.
Bill Dixon. I tell everybody, Bill is who taught me how to be a choral bass.
Dude.
I learned more in that first recording session with him than I had in years of singing.
I know. Did you see his post where he does the little guitar shout outs and stuff? Gosh, he's a trip. He's still got it. I want to do a session, man. Even if I go to him, I was like, we need to do it. Anyway, so we did one with Glenn, SATB recording session. There was some good stuff we got to do on that. And then we did at least 2 of the Brethren projects.
Yeah. Maybe 3. I don't remember specifically
Christmas,
now.
How Sweet the Sound, Patriot 3.
Yeah, 3.
So we got to do those. Of course, we also had our buddy Greg Lowry in there. We had Andre.
Mike Webb was there with us for some of those.
Yes, Mike Webb. Yes.
He's a pilot now.
Yes, I've been seeing that. Well, I know he got his license before he got out.
Yeah, he did, but now he's flying commercial.
Oh, gosh. Dude, that's so crazy. I love that. I love hearing those stories. But anyway, those sessions were really fun to be beside you and sing with you on those, man. Because, even though we were both in D.C., we overlapped for 20 years.
Yes.
Short of the handful of jobs.
We didn't sing a whole lot.
Yeah, it was always like, hey, man, what's up? Or,
one of my favorite memories, it was me, you, and Greg. And we got hired in Fairfax Choral Society.
Yes.
And they were doing the Chesnikoff, I think.
Yes.
And they had been recording and whatever, and they just came in and plopped us in to sing this low stuff. And there's probably, 150 people in that chorus?
At least.
And we did the first take, and they're like, second basses are too loud. I'm like, we are in the basement.
I do remember that. That was at Schlesinger, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
There in Northern Virginia. Yeah, I was actually concerned, not knowing that space. Okay, well, first of all, we're outnumbered.
Big time.
But they did bring us down front center.
Yeah.
Well, mostly.
Mostly.
Behind the girls. And that's right. They did the Chesnikoff. We also did that Luke Sarunquay.
Right.
I think those were only 2 that they really needed a song.
I think
Did
that's
you ever
right.
get a copy of that?
I don't think I ever even heard it.
I might have a copy of that. I'll have to send
You
it
have
to you.
to shoot it over to me.
But yeah, that just goes to show you, it's like you only need 3 to 100.
Well, I always feel like maybe it's because we both kind of grew up in the same region. It's kind of like when you hear a family sing together, their accents kind of match, and it really helps with those harmonies. I always felt like you and I had such a...
We became one.
Right, that's it. And we complement each other really well.
Absolutely. I agree, man. It was just some great sessions. It was great to sing with you, and I really appreciate you squeezing this in, and I'm glad it worked out.
So happy to see you.
Before we wrap up here, I got a present for you.
All right.
Now, I wanted to call this podcast Just Keep Singing.
Okay.
But it was already taken. So the podcast is called Still Singing, but this is for you.
Because, I love it, brother.
So
thanks so much.
You're welcome, man. Thanks again, buddy.
Yeah. I'm Courtney Williams, and I'm still singing.